I'm David Volk, a voice for the resistance, albeit a strange and funny one. Today's post, maybe I should rethink Jar Jar Binks. Project 2025 is even worse than I thought, and that's saying something. Remember a chapter or two ago when I talked about how hate makes people look stupid, how a person who is supposedly smart enough to earn an Ivy League degree, for example, looks awful stupid when he claims that, that foreigners in an Ohio town are eating house pets? Not that that would ever happen, mind you, because we are above such things. Do you also remember how I said that whenever Project 2025 supported its arguments by mentioning leftists, DEI, and other bugaboos in a chapter I was writing about, that I would replace it with Jar Jar Binks to show how stupid they were? Well, that seemed to be a good idea until I came across the chapter on the Agency for International Development, where the bigotry and the paternalism seem to be the only things holding it together. So I will try to continue with my strategy. The only problem is it will make far less sense than it already does. Or doesn't, I guess. So here goes. As it turns out, Project 2025 doesn't like the way the U.S. gives out international aid. As Gomer Pyle would say, surprise, surprise, surprise. They seem to feel that disasters go on way too long in certain countries, that they require too much money, and, of course, would go on way too long. And when the countries get the money, it often goes to unsavory agencies that just squander it. Which is why the Heritage Foundation feels religious organizations should be given the money and entrusted with its distribution. Getting churches involved is always a good idea because they almost never discriminate or ever refuse to offer assistance to those who have not accepted the locally accepted deity as their personal savior. And they're trustworthy as the day is long. Just ask the Pope who sold indulgences in the 1500s or nervous choir boys everywhere. At this point, I bet you're asking, isn't that a violation of church and state? Little country bumpkin, your naivete is so charming. Of course it isn't. Project 2025 will tell you that churches aren't in the United States, so it doesn't count. Here are some of the other highlights of this chapter. 1. Hopes and prayers. The first thing Project 2025 wants to do is slash the USA International Development Agency's budget. Then it wants to shift away from providing actual funding and towards focusing on having the needy countries achieve self-reliance. We call that the hopes and prayers model. Number 2, they're serious about this thoughts and prayers thing. Once they, quote-unquote, de-radicalize the agency by getting rid of Jar Jar Binks-related policies, I think that means DEI, the fun-loving folks at 2025 want USAID to promote Christian values and ideology. They also want to promote religious freedom in the countries they serve. I'm willing to bet the freedom will mostly be for Christ-based religions. I'll be interested to see how well that goes over in the UAE and Qatar. Number 3, is it hot in here or is it just me? Was that number 2? No, it's number 3. Is it hot in here or is it just me? Filed this one under the subject heading Climate Crisis? What climate crisis? Temperatures may be reaching record highs, flooding reaching record levels, the hurricane season lasting longer, and Starbucks may be declaring fall a month early with the introduction of the pumpkin spice latte in August. Or September, I don't know. But that's all just a big series of coincidences. Since they aren't connected and Jar Jar Binks isn't happening, USAID wants to strip out any programs or initiatives having to do with climate Jar Jar, and programs having to do with the Paris Jar Jar Agreement, and stop working with organizations that advocate Jar Jar fanaticism. See how silly this gets? Enough with the Jar Jar Binks agenda already. That's number 4. Jar Jar Binks is not abused, by the way, about having his name taken in vain. I just want to point that out. But anyways, not only are they calling for elimination of Chief Jar Jar Binks officers, they want to cancel the Binks scorecard to make sure grant winners are Binks and issue an agency policy statement calling for an end to promotion of Binks, including the bullying LGBT plus agenda. And here I thought the gay agenda was just doing gay stuff and tacos on Tuesday. It's not enough to de-stress pro-Jar Jar policies. 2025 also wants to punish them by eliminating funding for pro-Binks organizations. It just gets weirder and weirder, folks. Number 5, who knows, maybe it's 6, I don't really care. That's just a fancy word for abortion. You remember that whole gender equality movement? You remember how it was supposed to make the sexes and non-sexes equal? That's just a front for being pro-abortion, pro-gay Binks, and pro-race-based Jar Jar policies. 2025 wants to fire current officials in the agency, replace them with pro-life people who love the fetus but hate the baby. As part of that effort, they want the Office of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment renamed the Office of Women, Children, and Families. They want the head of the office to be unapologetically person who hates the fetus but loves the fetus but hates the baby. And they want a major regulation on gender equality and female empowerment. Its website, all of its materials to erase such phrases as gender sensitive, gender equality, gender diverse individuals, etc., etc., etc. And now, I don't know, maybe it's number 7, maybe it's number 8. Oops, we missed something. And that's not all. All of its materials should also remove such scandalous phrases as sexual and reproductive rights, reproductive health, and the granddaddy of them all, abortion. And finally, I don't even know if it's finally, pro-life is so much shorter than love the fetus, hate the baby. You may not have known this, but apparently protecting life should be one of the core aims of foreign aid from the U.S. I don't know about you, but this was news to me. I thought the key aim was to respond to emergencies and help countries in crisis, but I guess I was wrong. Silly me. Although Biden repealed this requirement, the folks at 2025 want organizations that get our money to either promise not to promote abortions or even perform them. Or they won't get our money. Once again, I am forced to ask, why do you care? Why are you imposing your values on others because they're needy? If you are that opposed to abortion, my suggestion would be, don't get one. And I'm willing to bet that if you scratch beneath the surface, you'd find that many of the men who promote this policy had to pay for an abortion or two in their time. If you think this is bad, just wait. It's only the first half of the chapter, and there are still 600 more pages to go. And the saga continues. I'm David Woke, a voice for the resistance. I'll be a strange and funny one. When will this end?